Genghis Khan and his family and
Oh,
what
cool.
they did. Dude, they killed 10% of the population of Earth while he was alive. They killed so many
What?
people that they affected the carbon footprint of human beings on Earth.
For over 1,000 years, the tomb of Genghis Khan remained one of history's greatest mysteries. And that was no accident. It was hidden for a reason. Rivers were redirected, forests planted, and those who buried him were never seen again. Even the location passed down through legend was a carefully crafted lie. Historians searched, explorers failed. No one was meant to find it. But now, the impossible has happened. The tomb has been opened, and what was discovered inside didn't just rewrite history. It stunned the entire world. Genghis Khan's era of power. From the windswept steppes of Mongolia rose one of the most formidable leaders in human history, Genghis Khan. Known as Temujin before his rise, his early life was defined by exile, betrayal, and survival. But these hardships forged a relentless warrior with unmatched resolve. By the early 13th century, Genghis Khan had united the fractured Mongol tribes under one banner. At the heart of Genghis Khan's dominance was his revolutionary military structure. He abandoned traditional tribal allegiances and organized his forces using the decimal system, units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000 men, known respectively as Arban, Jaghun, Minghan, and Tumen. Each unit was led by a commander chosen purely by merit, not bloodline. This approach fostered extreme loyalty, coordination, and effectiveness. His warriors, mostly mounted archers, were trained from childhood. Their tactics were unlike anything the world had seen: lightning-fast cavalry charges, feigned retreats to lure enemies into traps, and ruthless psychological warfare that made entire cities surrender without a fight. Between 1207 and 1225, Genghis Khan launched campaigns that devastated entire kingdoms. He stormed through western Xia and Jin China, reducing cities like Zhengdu to ruins. But it was the Khwarezmian Empire that felt his fury most deeply. After the Shah executed Genghis's trade delegation, the Khan unleashed an apocalyptic response. Cities like Samarkand and Bukhara were besieged and obliterated. Survivors were few. His wrath was strategic, and terror became a tool. Entire regions surrendered upon hearing the thunder of his hooves, fearing the fate of those who resisted. But conquest alone did not define the era of power. Genghis Khan was also a brilliant statesman. His legal code, the Yasa, ensured discipline and justice across his growing empire. It protected diplomats, merchants, and even religious freedom, a radical stance for the time. He recruited administrators and scholars from conquered lands, including Muslims, Chinese, and Persians. They helped build a sprawling empire that ran on a merit-based bureaucracy, secure trade routes, and the legendary yam. This postal relay system connected the empire from the Pacific to the Caspian. The result was Pax Mongolica, a rare period of peace across vast Eurasian lands that encouraged commerce, innovation, and cultural exchange. Silk Road trade flourished. Caravan trails, once plagued by bandits, now thrived under Mongol protection. Ideas, religions, and technologies flowed across borders like never before. Eventually, when he died, it ended his era of power, but gave rise to a greater mystery no one saw coming. Let's tell you about it. The death of Genghis Khan and birth of a great mystery. Genghis Khan, the brilliant strategist and founder of the largest contiguous empire in history, died during a military campaign against the Western Xia dynasty in what is now northwestern China. The exact date of his death is debated, with some sources suggesting August 18th, while others propose August 25th. This uncertainty only deepens the mystery surrounding the final chapter of his life. Genghis Khan was a conqueror whose name instilled terror from the steppes of Mongolia to the gates of Eastern Europe. Yet, despite his monumental legacy, the circumstances of his death remain unclear. Multiple accounts have emerged over the centuries, each offering a different cause of death, but none providing definitive proof. One version suggests he succumbed to illness, possibly malaria, typhus, or even the plague, while leading his forces in harsh conditions. Others claim that he was mortally wounded by an enemy arrow. In another account, he was thrown from his horse during a hunt, suffering fatal internal injuries. Some tales even speak of a lightning strike as the cause of his death, adding a mystical and almost divine tone to the narrative. What is clear, however, is that the news of his death was not immediately revealed to his army or the world. The Mongol leadership took extraordinary measures to ensure his passing remained a tightly guarded secret. They feared that announcing his death during an ongoing campaign might demoralize their troops or embolden their enemies. To maintain order and control, the inner circle surrounding Genghis Khan enacted an intense and calculated plan to hide the event. After his death, his body was secretly transported back toward the Mongolian heartland for burial. The journey was conducted in total secrecy. The exact location of his final resting place has never been confirmed, and that is largely because of the extreme efforts made to keep it hidden. The most chilling element of this effort was the reported execution of the entire funeral procession. According to legend, every person involved in transporting and burying the great Khan was killed to ensure that no one could reveal the location of his tomb. As if that was not enough, further steps were taken to erase all signs of the burial. The ground where he was laid to rest was allegedly trampled by thousands of horses to disguise any disturbance in the landscape. Over time, nature reclaimed the land, further concealing whatever clues might have been left behind. These extraordinary efforts not only kept the tomb hidden, but also created one of history's most enduring mysteries. Historians, archaeologists, and adventurers have searched for centuries to uncover the truth about Genghis Khan's final resting place. From ancient scrolls to modern satellite imagery, the quest has drawn in experts from around the world. But despite all technological advances and countless expeditions, no one has yet confirmed the exact site of his burial. The mysteries don't stop here. Let's tell you even more surprising details about the guarding rituals that kept his tomb hidden for centuries. Legends and rituals shielding the grave. After the death of Genghis Khan, the Mongols did not simply bury their leader. They buried a legend beneath layers of secrecy, rituals, and sacred protection that have lasted for nearly 800 years. The effort to shield his final resting place was not just about hiding a grave, but about honoring the spiritual legacy of a man regarded not only as a conqueror, but also as a cultural and ancestral figure of divine significance. One of the most mysterious elements connected to Genghis Khan's burial is the region known as the Great Taboo, or Korig. This is a heavily guarded area located around Burkhan Khaldun, a sacred mountain in northeastern Mongolia. Spanning approximately 240 square kilometers, this region was designated for the royal family alone. Entry was strictly forbidden to outsiders. It was patrolled by a special group of warriors known as the Dark Had, a hereditary class of guardians entrusted with the protection of the area. These guards treated the land with deep reverence, maintaining its sacredness and preventing anyone from entering or disturbing the terrain. For centuries, the Dark Had carried out rituals and kept the land untouched, ensuring that the possible burial site of the Khan remained concealed and undisturbed. Local folklore adds even more mystery. There are legends that say the Mongols diverted rivers to flow over the burial site. This extraordinary act was meant to erase any trace of the tomb's location. Diverting water in such a remote and rugged region would have required immense effort, but to the Mongols, no task was too great when it came to honoring their great Khan. Some stories also describe how thousands of trees were planted in the area to camouflage the terrain and restore the appearance of untouched wilderness. These trees grew naturally over generations, blending the artificial changes into the landscape and making detection even more impossible. Permafrost conditions in the region are also believed to have played a role in preserving the burial site by keeping it sealed in ice and soil, further discouraging disturbance. Another layer to this mystery lies far away from Mongolia, in Ordos, Inner Mongolia, a region now part of China. There, a massive mausoleum stands in honor of Genghis Khan. It features impressive architecture and attracts thousands of visitors each year. But despite its grandeur, this mausoleum contains no actual remains. It is widely accepted that the coffin placed inside is empty. The Ordo site functions as a symbolic memorial rather than an actual burial place. This has further fueled curiosity and speculation about where the true grave may lie and why the secrecy has been preserved for so long. The rituals and secrecy surrounding Genghis Khan's tomb have turned it into one of history's greatest enigmas, and the respect for those traditions remains strong even today. This mystery has always intrigued archaeologists and historians, sparking endless curiosity. They were determined to solve it. Now, let's tell you about the efforts made to uncover this ancient secret. Modern archaeological endeavors. Despite centuries of secrecy and legend, modern science has provided tools that have reignited the search. From satellite imagery to ground-based detection methods, archaeologists and explorers have embarked on multiple missions to solve one of the world's greatest historical puzzles. One of the most notable efforts came from a team led by National Geographic explorer Albert Lin Yumin. Using a combination of satellite imaging, magnetometry, and ground-penetrating radar, Lin focused his search in the Khenti Mountains of northeastern Mongolia. This region is deeply associated with Mongolian history and is believed to be close to where Genghis Khan may have been buried. What made Lin's approach unique was the integration of local Mongolian volunteers with modern imaging tools. The team carefully avoided disturbing the land directly in order to respect Mongolian cultural sensitivities and spiritual beliefs. By analyzing satellite photos and using non-invasive technology to detect underground anomalies, Lin's project revealed several promising areas. Though no definitive tomb was found, the mission set a new standard for respectful and scientifically sound archaeological investigation. Before Lin's exploration, another significant expedition had taken place decades earlier. Between 1989 and 1992, a joint team of Japanese and Mongolian archaeologists launched what came to be known as the Three Rivers Expedition. This team surveyed large stretches of land near the Onon, Kerlen, and Tul rivers. These rivers are located in an area considered historically important, as many noble Mongols are believed to have lived and died there. During their multi-year study, the expedition identified approximately 1,380 possible graves belonging to members of the Mongol aristocracy. The expedition's findings helped build a stronger understanding of Mongol burial customs and confirmed that elite burial sites were concentrated in specific geographic zones. However, despite this breakthrough, the final resting place of Genghis Khan himself remained elusive. The team's work highlighted just how difficult it would be to locate a single tomb amid so many similar sites, especially one that was intentionally hidden. Perhaps the most determined figure in the quest was the American lawyer turned adventurer Maury Kravitz. For over 40 years, Kravitz devoted his life to finding Genghis Khan's tomb. He made more than a dozen expeditions to Mongolia and established relationships with local scholars and communities. Unlike others who may have relied heavily on technology, Kravitz combined historical texts with personal intuition and fieldwork. He believed that the tomb might be concealed within an area disguised by natural terrain and old Mongol ritual. Despite his passion and dedication, Kravitz never found the tomb. His missions, however, sparked stories of supernatural interference and strange occurrences that added a mystical edge to the already mysterious search. Locals and even members of his team reportedly experienced unusual dreams, unexpected illnesses, and unexplained mechanical failures. These stories contributed to a belief that the tomb was protected not just by secrecy, but also by a spiritual barrier that resisted intrusion. But just when everyone thought they were getting closer, the mystery twisted again. Shocking evidence revealed that the tomb's true location wasn't where anyone had been looking all along. Alan Nichols and the Enigma of Mountain X. Among the many explorers who have pursued the mystery of Genghis Khan's tomb, one name stands out for introducing a bold and controversial theory. Alan Nichols, an American explorer, and former president of the Explorers Club, brought forward a hypothesis that challenged centuries of belief. While most researchers focused their efforts near Burkhan Khaldun, the sacred mountain traditionally linked with Genghis Khan's death and possible burial, Nichols suggested that the real tomb might lie somewhere else entirely. He proposed that the Khan's final resting place could be hidden within a remote and uncharted peak he referred to only as Mountain X. Nichols did not come to this conclusion lightly. He based his theory on years of research, analysis of historical records, and geographical clues. What made his proposition so surprising was the shift of focus from Mongolia's northeast to a region far closer to the Yellow River in Inner Mongolia. This area, rich in history and home to vast stretches of unexplored terrain, became the focal point of one of Nichols's most secretive expeditions. To investigate this theory, Nichols assembled a small team and deployed a range of modern tools, including ground-penetrating radar and magnetometers. These instruments are capable of detecting anomalies beneath the Earth's surface, revealing potential man-made structures or burial chambers without disturbing the land. The results were intriguing. In several locations within the search zone, the equipment picked up unusual subsurface patterns that hinted at the presence of hidden chambers or artifacts. These findings were never fully published, adding to the air of mystery that surrounded his work. What made Nichols's expedition even more fascinating was the level of secrecy involved. Operating in a politically sensitive region near the Yellow River meant navigating complex relationships with local authorities and officials. The area had military zones, restricted access points, and layers of bureaucratic oversight. Nichols was aware of the geopolitical implications of his search and ensured that his activities were conducted with minimal attention. There were no large teams, no public announcements, and no media coverage. Every move was carefully planned to avoid attracting unwanted scrutiny. This secrecy extended beyond political boundaries. Even within the archaeological and exploration communities, Nichols was known to guard details of his findings closely. Some critics questioned the lack of transparency, while others respected his cautious approach, given the cultural and diplomatic sensitivities surrounding the tomb of a national hero. Nichols believed that prematurely announcing discoveries could cause unrest or even spark disputes between nations that have historical ties to Genghis Khan's legacy. Then came the most awaited and mind-blowing moment of the entire excavation, a breakthrough that revealed strange discoveries no one could have imagined. The moment of the 1,000-year opening. After generations of speculation and decades of scientific pursuit, the long-hidden tomb believed to belong to Genghis Khan was finally uncovered. This moment, often described as the most important archaeological event of the modern era, marked the potential end of one of history's greatest mysteries. The excavation process did not happen overnight. It was the result of careful coordination and cooperation between multiple international bodies and the Mongolian government. Due to the immense cultural and historical significance of the site, the opening of the tomb required formal approval from Mongolia, oversight by UNESCO, and monitoring by representatives from the United Nations to ensure that all actions respected global heritage standards and ethical research practices. Every step leading to the opening was guided by caution and precision. Teams of researchers and government officials agreed on protocols to avoid any disrespect to Mongolian traditions. In addition to the Mongolian Cultural Ministry, experts in history, anthropology, and religious studies were consulted. The goal was to balance scientific exploration with cultural reverence. Only after extensive review did the operation proceed. A small team equipped with advanced tools entered the site under the watch of international observers and local community leaders. Inside the site, the researchers discovered a large and intricately constructed burial chamber. The architecture reflected the influence of multiple regions that the Mongol Empire had touched. Stone slabs with engraved symbols surrounded the tomb. Within the chamber lay an array of funerary goods, each offering insight into the life and legacy of the individual buried there. Among these items were ornate weapons, ceremonial armor, ancient scrolls, and containers with preserved food offerings. The condition of the objects suggested they had been sealed away with incredible care. Perhaps the most significant discovery was the presence of human remains. The skeletal structure appeared consistent with what experts would expect of a male warrior leader from the early 13th century. The bones were well preserved, possibly due to the cool underground conditions and the airtight construction of the tomb. Alongside the remains were fragments of rich textiles, some still bearing patterns that had not faded over time. These materials were removed with delicate care and placed in protective containers for analysis. Once the items and remains were recovered, a new phase of investigation began. Scientists used radiocarbon dating to determine the age of the artifacts and skeletal remains. The results aligned with the estimated time of Genghis Khan's death in 1227, giving strong support to the theory that this was indeed his burial site. Ancient DNA analysis was also conducted on the bones. While researchers could not compare the results directly with a known sample from Genghis Khan, they identified genetic markers linking the individual to Central Asian populations that matched historical records of the Mongol lineage. The textiles underwent separate study. Fiber examination revealed the use of silk and wool, along with techniques typical of both Mongolian and Chinese craftsmanship. This blend of cultural elements further reinforced the identity of the tomb's occupant as a unifying figure across diverse regions. The excavation did not only uncover physical artifacts, but also opened a window into a forgotten world. Every item found told a story. The tomb's contents showed not only wealth and power, but also spiritual belief and cultural complexity. It was not just a grave, but a message preserved through time. Though the identity of the remains is still debated among some scholars, the evidence gathered during this historic excavation strongly supports the idea that the tomb of Genghis Khan has finally been found. But this excavation was no ordinary event, and for the Mongolian people, it meant something far deeper. It was not just history being uncovered, it was the spirit of their greatest ancestor rising once more. Shockwaves through Mongolia and beyond. The discovery of the tomb believed to be Genghis Khan's sent a wave of emotion and debate across Mongolia and around the world. For the Mongolian people, this was not just an archaeological event. It was a deeply spiritual and cultural moment that reached into the heart of their national identity. The reaction was a mixture of pride, fascination, and deep concern. Many Mongolians viewed the discovery as both a triumph of history and a potential disturbance of something sacred. In traditional Mongolian belief, Genghis Khan is not just a historical figure. He is revered almost like a divine ancestor. His legacy is woven into the fabric of the nation, from school lessons to national holidays. The idea that his tomb had been found brought a sense of awe, but also fear. Among some Mongolian communities, there were whispers of a world-ending curse. These fears were rooted in old legends that warned of grave misfortune for anyone who disturbed the Khan's final resting place. Stories spread quickly. Some believed that unlocking the tomb could bring political turmoil, natural disasters, or even spiritual imbalance. Others viewed the act as a challenge to the will of the ancestors who had long kept the tomb hidden. Beyond spiritual concerns, the discovery raised sensitive issues about national identity. In Mongolia, Genghis Khan is a symbol of unity, pride, and cultural strength. His face appears on currency, statues, and government buildings. The fact that his tomb had remained hidden for so long was part of a shared national narrative that emphasized respect for tradition and the unseen protection of heritage. Now, with international attention pouring in, many Mongolians felt that the story was being taken out of their hands. There were public discussions about who should have the right to examine the tomb, who should care for the artifacts, and whether the discoveries should even be shown to the world. The political landscape added more complexity. In Inner Mongolia, a region of China with a large ethnic Mongol population, the discovery fueled cultural pride but also raised tensions. Ethnic Mongols in the region have long struggled to preserve their language and traditions under Chinese rule. The idea that Genghis Khan's tomb might lie near or within their territory became a point of cultural and political sensitivity. Russia, too, with its historical connections to the Mongol Empire and its current influence in Central Asia, showed interest in the discovery, adding to the regional competition over who holds the legacy of the great Khan. Meanwhile, in the West, academic circles responded with great excitement. Historians and archaeologists celebrated the potential confirmation of one of the most significant burial sites in human history. Genghis Khan is often studied for his revolutionary military strategies, governance systems, and the vast empire he created. To finally uncover the physical link to such a powerful figure promised new insights into the past. Western universities, museums, and research institutions began discussing partnerships, DNA research possibilities, and future studies based on the findings. But even this enthusiasm had to be tempered with caution, as scholars were reminded of the cultural sensitivities surrounding the tomb. The discovery created a powerful contrast between scientific curiosity and cultural reverence. For Mongolia, it was a moment of reflection. Was this the fulfillment of a historical quest, or a disruption of sacred ground? For the rest of the world, it was a reminder that the past is not just a collection of stories and artifacts. It lives on in the identities, beliefs, and emotions of people who still carry its weight. This discovery wasn't ordinary. It changed everything we thought we knew about the past, and it's already reshaping the future in ways no one expected. What does this discovery mean for the future? The discovery of what is believed to be the tomb of Genghis Khan has stunned the world. But beyond the initial excitement, it has opened a floodgate of complex questions about ethics, heritage, conservation, and the future of historical research. As scientists examine ancient bones and relics, a deeper issue looms: how should humanity handle a discovery that is both a historical treasure and a sacred site? One of the most pressing concerns is the ethical dilemma. The site is not just an archaeological wonder. It holds deep spiritual significance for the Mongolian people. For centuries, the tomb was left undisturbed, protected by tradition, secrecy, and even myth. Many Mongolians believe the tomb is sacred, and disturbing it may carry spiritual consequences. Legends speak of curses that could be unleashed, and some fear that opening the tomb has already disrupted a delicate spiritual balance. For them, this is not just about exploring the past, it is about respecting the soul of their nation. The act of excavating the site raises the question: should the pursuit of knowledge come at the cost of violating sacred ground? This is where the idea of heritage stewardship comes in. The responsibility of what to do next now lies in the hands of not only archaeologists, but also the Mongolian government, spiritual leaders, and international cultural organizations such as UNESCO. They must find a way to preserve the dignity of the site while allowing meaningful study. Discussions have already started about the possibility of reburial, a respectful gesture that aligns with Mongolian customs. Others suggest building a protective structure over the site, allowing for future access without exposing the tomb to decay or damage. One of the most culturally sensitive proposals is to let the Dark Had, traditional guardians of royal graves, continue their role. These sacred protectors have passed down rituals for generations. Allowing them to maintain their practices at the tomb would restore a sense of cultural continuity. Some conservationists also support limited museum displays, where selected artifacts can be presented with full context and reverence. These exhibitions would focus on education and respect, not spectacle. Western commentators have weighed in as well. On his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, Joe Rogan discussed the discovery in a tone of amazement and deep curiosity. He reflected on the scale of the find, noting how it challenges long-held beliefs and could rewrite parts of world history. Rogan highlighted the power of modern technology in solving ancient mysteries, but also raised concerns about disturbing sacred sites. He debated whether the benefits of such a discovery outweigh the risks of offending cultural and spiritual traditions. Rogan and his guest emphasized the need for caution, asking listeners to consider the broader implications of unlocking secrets that might have been hidden for a reason. As conversations continue, one thing is clear: future research must proceed with extraordinary care. This discovery sets the stage for new developments in archaeology, especially in the field of non-invasive technology. Tools like ground-penetrating radar, remote sensing, and high-resolution satellite imaging allow researchers to explore other potential sites without physically digging into sacred soil. This approach may become the new standard, especially in regions rich with cultural heritage. Another promising field is ancient DNA research. Scientists now have the tools to extract genetic information from the remains without destroying them. This could help confirm the identity of the individual in the tomb and even trace their lineage. Some researchers are hopeful that this could connect modern Mongolians and other Central Asian groups to their ancestral roots. However, such studies must be carried out with transparency and the full consent of the Mongolian people, who deserve to control their own historical narrative. In the end, this discovery is not just about the past. It is a test for the present and a challenge for the future. It asks humanity to choose wisdom over curiosity and respect over conquest. The tomb of Genghis Khan may have been opened, but what we do next will define how we are remembered. What are your thoughts on this surprising reopening of Genghis Khan's tomb and the shocking discoveries inside? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to click on the cards on screen for more incredible stories.